What's up, classy crew? My name is Jessica Christian. I am from Nashville, Tennessee, and I go to Belmont University, and you're watching Stay Classy by Jazzy. This girl is such a phenomenal woman, and her page is filled with amazing rule advice, so make sure you guys comment and subscribe for my girl. See you soon, and remember to stay classy by Jazzy.
Thank the Lord, I'm done. I'm done. Okay. Yeah, I can cross this off my list. Okay. Wait. Hold on. Okay, I'm just seeing things, right? What is that? What is this? No. No. I just got finished doing 8 assignments. I'm tired. What time is it? Oh, it's 12:04 in the morning. Oh gosh, I'm supposed to write a paper. It's 12 in the morning. I'm so asleep.
Girl, don't be stressed. Be blessed with these simple tips to help you write a last-minute paper. So tip number 1 is to do a rough outline. Now, this doesn't have to be a fancy traditional outline unless you want to. This is basically a way for you to structure and organize your thoughts. So what I like to start with is my introduction. And for my introduction, I like to do kind of either start my paper out with a quote that I found online or a general statement that kind of gets the reader set up for the paper. And then after I do that, I like to give supporting statements to kind of back up my introduction or my supporting beginning statement. I like to go from general to specific. That way I go from like a general point of view to a specific point of view that ties into my topic. And then I have my thesis statement. And after I do my thesis statement that sets up my paper, I have my body paragraphs. For example, my first topic might be like something like teacher interactions. And then after I do that, I like to support my body paragraphs with examples or supporting statements that kind of backs it up with evidence. And then once I do that, I do all my other body paragraphs, and then the last part is the conclusion. Here in the conclusions where you do your restating of your thesis statement that you did in your introduction. This is also where you reiterate your main points that you talked about in your body paragraphs. And lastly, this is also where you do your call to action, which kind of leaves the reader with something to think about.
Okay, so number 2 is structure. This is very, very important. Whether you spend days writing a paper, even an all-nighter, if your paper doesn't have an organized layout, then it's not going to get a good grade. So I'm going to show you a little bit about my structure. So since grade school, we've been taught that you need an introduction, your thesis statement, body paragraphs, as well as a conclusion. So this is my introduction right here. I think my thesis statement starts right here where it says yes as future educators, because this is my education paper. And basically this is the premise of my paper. So that is my thesis statement. Body paragraph number 1 right here. Body paragraph number 2 right here, and then body paragraph number 3, because I just like to write my papers in 3 big main steps. At the very bottom, you have my conclusion, and then we have our bibliography or works cited page. But I just wanted to give you guys more of like an overview of what I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to get more into specifics. Okay, so step number 3 is having a strong introduction and thesis statement. So having a strong introduction and a nicely written thesis statement helps draw the reader in and sets them up for the rest of the paper. So some of my favorite things to do for intro, because honestly I find intros really hard. I'm really good at like the body and the conclusion. So I like to use like quotes from online, or maybe like a word or a definition or perhaps a statistic. So it's something that will draw, like grab people's attention, like, oh, I want to learn more. So one of my favorite things to do is just go into Google and I'll type in, for example, for this paper I typed in student motivation quotes. And I actually like the first website that I saw. So I click on it. I just kind of like browse through whatever websites I can find and look for a quote that I feel like would like spoke to me in a sense, like a quote that I felt like, oh, this will like jog my memory and help me like write a paper. So the one that I chose was number 2 right here. And then I chose this quote too: strive for progress, not perfection. And then once I do that, I just kind of type in, make sure I get like props, but this is unknown. So we'll get props to the author. And so I just kind of said like, unknown author once stated this. For me personally, I feel like quotes kind of help me get started. So I can kind of like take the quote, which is specific, and then which is general, and then tie it to specifically into the paper. The biggest thing for a thesis statement is that you're trying to prepare the reader for what you're talking about. Intrinsic motivation, paragraph number 1 right here. And then mastery goals and goal setting, paragraph number 2 right here. I had teacher expectations, paragraph number 3 in my final paragraph. That way, as the reader's reading, they're like, okay, boom, one thing, boom, the other thing, boom, third thing. What I said in the intro is being done in the body and is going to be restated again in the conclusion. Okay, so step number 4 is to use 3 main points as your intro sentences for your paragraph. I suggest finding like 2 to 3 examples in your book or a research article or just anywhere online where you can find evidence that can support your intro paragraph statement. So for my first paragraph, like I said in my thesis statement right here, it says intrinsic motivation as my first topic. And then look at my first statement. It says, according to apa.org, the first principle of student motivation is intrinsic motivation. And so I'm setting up the author knowing like, okay, this is the first point that she's going to talk about. And then I have a book that we use in my class that that's where I got my readings from. So after reading it, I kind of pick out some examples or quotes or whatever that can kind of back up what I'm trying to say. Alright, so step number 5, you're ready for your conclusion. This is where you restate your thesis statement that you said in your introduction, and this is also a place where you can briefly paraphrase what you touched on in your body paragraphs. What I recommend doing at the very end is to do like a call to action or leave your audience or reader with just something they can think about. One big thing that I do is I like to use some type of phrase right here in the very beginning. Right here it says all in all, to kind of signal to the reader and like, hey, I'm done, I'm closing up, I did all the work I need to, and this is me kind of like tying up the loose ends. And this is my call to action statement because as a reader, if my professor's reading it, she's like, oh, he or she would be like, oh, okay, it's giving me something to think about. As a future educator, I need to know how my students are motivated. And that's kind of the basic structure of how I do my conclusion. That's what I recommend if you're in a time crunch because you already did the work. You just kind of got to restate the work you did. What I like to do when I'm writing a paper is just like brain dumping. But this is just kind of simulate what I do. So I kind of like just type. I just keep going. I just type whatever comes to my mind. Type. I just keep typing. I don't really look back at what I was writing during that moment because I just kind of want to get as much as I can off my brain and onto the paper, and then I like to take a break away from my paper, and so maybe I'll get ready for bed, or even depending what time you have class in the morning, I like to go to sleep and then wake up again a couple hours later to kind of look over the paper with fresh eyes and clean it up and make it a little bit more presentable. And the last and final step is like in-text citations or your bibliography or works cited page, where you have to cite where you get your sources from, or else that's plagiarism, which is not a good thing to do. So when I'm writing, what I like to do is I like to type where I have to cite my sources instead of like writing my paper and then having to go back and search for them. So, but normally I would just do like a parentheses and then do cite. That way I can know to go back and be like, I need to cite this. Or I even go as far as whatever website I use. I might do like www.apa.org. That way when I do my works cited page, I can know what word I need to put into the parentheses for my in-text citations. For citations, like works cited down here, if you're using a research database through your school, then normally the article or the database will have the works cited for you and you can just copy and paste. But if you're on a time crunch, the thing is I use Easybib. It's super easy and it's free. So this is where you can generate citations for you. Click on I only want to create citations after you type in easybib.com. And I'm using a website. I'll just copy the URL and then I'll plug it into Easybib. I'm just going to paste the website into a search engine, click cite. And this is a citation generator. So it knows everything that you need to use if you were to like do this by hand. But it's just automatically gathering it for you, which is really nice because we don't have time to stay up and write a citation page if you're doing a last minute paper. And then you click like, yes, this is the correct website. And the biggest thing is, even though this is a generator, it could still be missing some things. Like for example, it has the article title, URL, all that stuff. But some things that they're missing is, well, let me see, a publisher and like a date published, which you can go back and find on the website if possible. But just for the sake of time, let's say I can't find it. I'm going to hit continue, and it's just going to go ahead and make the citation without those two things that it's missing. Get to the last page where you can find out where your citation is. There's like an in-text citation option. I just make that myself. And then you'll click for the little 3 dots and copy the clipboard. You'll click that, and then you'll just hit paste, and your citation will be there. And boom, there's your citation. Now one little thing I want to show you guys real quick before I go is, let's say you are doing a works cited page. Your works cited page looks like this. In order to get the hanging indent, highlight it, right click, go to paragraph, and then you'll look for special right here and look for hanging indent. And that will give you the look that you need for your works cited page. And there you go. And your paper is done.
Okay, don't mind the fact that I look crazy right now. College life. Hopefully you guys were able to stick along with me and that it was still engaging even though it was like not my face the whole time. Hopefully these tips that I shared with you guys kind of help you. I know as college students and just students in general, we have so much on our plates with extracurricular activities to classes upon classes upon classes and assignments upon assignments upon assignments from those classes. And I know that if you're like trying to hang out with friends and balance this and balance that and take care of yourself, because self-care is real, it's a lot. And either you're procrastinating to the last minute to do your paper, or you just have so much on your plate that you go through your to-do list and you realize you have a paper due the next day. We've all been there. I've been there. If you guys enjoyed this video, give it a nice little thumbs up. And if you haven't already, feel free to subscribe to my channel with the red button right here that says subscribe, so you can officially join the Classy Crew, which is the community that I'm building here on this channel. And if you haven't already, go ahead and ring that little bell too right next to the subscribe button so you can get notified exactly when I upload new content, new videos on Sunday. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday and a great start to a new week. And I will catch you back here next Sunday. Don't forget to stay classy, Classy Crew. Bye.